Hi, right, I'm going to just walk through the process of creating a new project, building and debugging with Visual Studio Code on a Raspberry Pi Pico W. Okay, so first things first, we need the debug server listening and running. Now, if you haven't modified your udev rules, you might need sudo on the front of this one. I've got mine set up already. So open OCD, and you'll notice that it's using the cmsys dap config. And that's because I'm also using a debug probe. Now, there are a number of debug options for Raspberry Pi Pico. This is the official debug probe that comes with the USB and two connectors on the other side, in all the little sort of semi-transparent plastic case. Right, so that one is distinct from the Pico probe, which is where you use the second Pico as a debugger. It's different firmware, I believe. Right, so I'm going to run that, and for the duration of all my working on this board, I'm just going to leave that running now. Okay, so that's effectively a little server listening on port 3333 for GDB to talk to it, and then it will talk to the Pico by proxy. Right, so leaving that alone now, let's now go and create a project. So I've got this Pico folder, and one of the repositories that I cloned was the Pico project generator, which is a little Python program. So I'm going to open that. Whoops. I'm going to use --GUI. Okay, I'll give it a name. Flashy or blinky. Mine's a Pico W. I'm going to have a timer and have the Pico W onboard LED. Now notice that's specific to the Pico W because the LED is actually connected to the Wi-Fi chip, I assume to save pins. Make sure you've got console over UART selected and not over USB, so that we can use the serial terminal while debugging. Click Create a VS Code project. Now, unfortunately, this has either got SWD or Pico Probe, and it's neither of those. Right? We have a confusingly Debug Probe, which is different to the Pico Probe and certainly different to the bit banging method sometimes used as well. For now, leave it on Pico Probe for now, and we'll fix it in a minute. Click OK, and that will create the project. Now, if we look in here, there it is. That's inside this folder, so I'm just going to move that somewhere else. So I'll put it somewhere like my dev folder. Pico, I'll get rid of some of this, and we'll pop it in there. Right, now, job number one. So as not to confuse Visual Studio Code, delete the build folder. All right, don't want that. We'll do a completely clean build here, and we want CMake to Visual Studio Code to take control of CMake. Okay, so in here we're going to make a few changes. Now, just so you know, I've got hidden files hidden in Ubuntu here. If I click that one, you'll see the .vs code folder is here with 4 JSON files. This one needs to be replaced. Okay, so when I picked Pico Probe, that's the launch.json for Pico Probe, which ain't going to work. We need remote debug, whereas this is the remote debugger here. Right, okay, so in a minute that one's going to go. So let's open VS Code. Now let's go fix it. Now, oh, hang on, before I do that, let's replace that file. So back to the in fact, Control N for new window. Go into the Pico folder. Now it's in the Pico examples under IDE, VS Code. They've got this one as well. Launch remote open OCD. So copy that. Control C. I'm going to Control V it in here. So this is to replace this. F2 to rename. Okay, so that one's almost correct. I say almost. Okay, let's do it. Code dot. Let's go fix it. It's a very simple change. You'll see that the GDB target here doesn't have a IP address. Well, actually, it's on the same machine, so it's localhost. Save that. Right, now we're nearly there. So we created a project. I fixed launch.json. I'm running the debugger. It's listening on port 3333. Let's now have a little play. So I am going to first of all select kit. Right, so you might need to do scan for kits. Mine's already done, and it's GCC ARM none EABI. Very important you pick the right one. Make sure you're on the debug release. Right, and we are almost there. So just go to the run and debug, or Control-Shift-D, and click the green button or press F5. Now, first time you do this, it's this one here, the flashy.elf. I don't know what a flashy elf is. Sounds quite seasonal, doesn't it? And off we go. If we want to see the printf output, I've got Minicom set up with the right defaults. I restart the program. Just run. So this line should print it out. Hello world. And that's it. As I said, leave the debugger just running in the background. You can close Visual Studio Code and restart it, and it doesn't matter. So that's my walkthrough. And to say that was kind of tricky to work out, yeah, it was a day and a half. Right, so I hope that saves someone else some time.